Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of No Trailers Allowed, my movie and streaming show podcast where I do not watch trailers beforehand. I'm your host, Jersh. If you like this podcast and you want to find more episodes, you can visit my website, superjersh.com. If you want to support me and get this podcast early and ad-free, you can visit me on patreon.com/superjersh. To watch the video version of this podcast, I'm on YouTube at superjersh. To follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at superjersh. If you want to be a part of the show with your questions, comments, or suggestions, my email address is notrailersallowed@gmail.com. I want to quickly welcome new patrons, Ahmed, that 70s girl, and Emma. Thank you, and say thank you to Patreon executive producers Mirrors, Tris, and Daryl, and thank you legendary Patreon producer Zelbinian. On this episode, we're going to review The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Following the same format as the last episode, Patreon executive producer Mirrors was gracious enough to come back again. Hello, Mirrors.
Hello.
I thought it would also be fun to do another quick segment talking about things we've been watching or playing in my instance, because I'm going to talk about Overwatch. I don't care if anybody gives a shit or not, because that's what I did this week. I didn't have time to watch. I watched this movie and I played Overwatch, didn't have time to watch anything else. But I want to start with you because I know on one of the streams you had let me know that you were super far into Severance. So did you finish it? And first of all, did you finish it?
Yeah, I finished it this morning.
Okay, so spoiler warning for Severance. I want to be able to talk to Mirrors about full spoilers. We're not going to actively try to spoil it, but it might come up in conversation because I've seen the whole season. Huh?
I said speak for yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm spoil this whole goddamn thing. But I gave spoiler-free thoughts on my own a few weeks ago when I finished it, so I figured and I might ask you a couple of questions. I don't know.
Okay.
But I watched it a couple of weeks ago, so I'm curious, what did you think just overall?
I really liked it. It was right up my alley on the type of things that I like. It was basically it was Black Mirror mixed with The Island
And the Twilight Zone.
And the Twilight Zone, and those are three of my favorite things. So
yeah,
of course I would like it. It was really good. There were moments where my jaw literally dropped when things were revealed. It was just a really well done show, and can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, something that I think I said in my spoiler-free thoughts. I said I don't even want to say what this reminds me of because I don't want to give away. Because if you go in, I did not. Had you watched a trailer or heard anything or for this one?
No, I saw. Spoiler warning. I saw that it was about separating work life and personal life, and that was physically done, and that's all that I knew.
Wow.
And then I saw the picture of Adam Scott, the cover of it.
Yeah.
With his head, so.
I think
that was as much as I knew.
I think what makes the show so successful, and some of my favorite sci-fi, what I consider to be, quote unquote successful and not disappointing or not entertaining, is that the show features this concept of a literal work-life balance separation and the kind of, like we said, Twilight Zone, Black Mirror-esque version of that. But that's not what it's about. It's right. About the people, and it's about dealing with the reality of that situation and how the different personas react to that surgery being that surgery being performed and the toll it takes on them, and how what's beautiful about how it's written is that character decisions and drive gives the plot momentum, and that's one of the hardest forms of writing to do, where character and plot work simultaneously. Usually something is this a character study where there's no plot or it's all plot and you don't care about the characters. And this one is just like, and not even, and beyond that, it's usually this is a character scene, this is a plot scene. Very rarely are you getting a character going through changes and realizations and desires and wants, and it's moving the plot. You're like, oh my god, here we go. The show is really picking up steam now. Like the plot moves forward because of the character work, and that's why it just like blew me away. I was like, how, for me personally, I was impressed how invested I was on them at individual personal levels. Like I want to know, like the guy that did like the music hour, the kind of go between Patricia Arquette and the employees. I
Yeah,
love his character.
Milchek.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
the music dance experience, MD.
yes.
That was so good. He did such a good job, and I looked at his IMDb, and it looked like he hasn't been in much.
Wow.
Because I thought he looked familiar, but no, that's so.
But yeah,
I'm
it.
expecting to see a lot more of him after this.
Mm-hmm. And it also, other popular mystery sci-fi shows like Lost, they hold their questions too long and then they're disappointing by the time you get an answer. And this one is like in the first episode, here's the situation, here's 5 more interesting questions. Then in the next episode, here's some answers, here's some more interesting questions. It's like it really moved along. Like regardless of what happens with season 2, I think the first season is like one of the best seasons of sci-fi TV I've ever seen, just standalone, like
Yeah.
anyway. What were some high points for you? And was there anything you didn't like about the show since we're both so high on it?
Okay. I think so. So yesterday I watched episodes 1 through 8 all in one day. Which that's a maybe a record for me. I don't know.
They're hard to stop watching. I watched them in like 3 or
Yeah.
4 days. I wasn't much better. I couldn't stop once they started.
Yeah, episodes 1 through 3 I thought were really good, but I think it was episode 4 is when it really kind of, and I can't remember exactly what happened in episode 4,
Mm-hmm.
but that's when I was like, okay, I'm really in. Like
Mm-hmm.
I need answers. I need to know. Um what I loved Helly.
Oh my god, I love
She's
that
probably
character
my
too.
favorite character.
She's so awesome.
And I can't think of Dylan, I think is the name of the guy
The
with the
dorky guy
waffle
with the
party.
with the crush on the psychologist who
Miss
turns out to
Casey.
be
Mhm.
I couldn't
I
believe it.
I was like, as soon as like when he saw the picture and it was hidden, I was like, oh, it's Miss Casey. I don't know why I had that feeling
I thought it was going to
because
be Helly.
she was, well, I thought that too, but then oh, that's what made my jaw drop, was finding out who she is.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
I was literally
Yeah.
for a
Well,
while after that.
and it retroactively makes sense. Like it doesn't matter what she threatens to do. Her outside persona is not in a position to give up. She's literally the
Right.
brand. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I was like, "What, why does she, like, come on. Why is she so adamant about, like, staying in?" Like,
Yeah.
she literally, like, you know, tried to take her own life to get out of there, and she's like, "Oh,"
Well, and what's
you know.
interesting about that too is again, it's this almost like a dissociative multiple personality disorder where
Mhm.
she was trying to murder the other version of herself. She was trying to cause
Yeah,
harm to the person who did this to her. She wanted to live probably, but she was so
yeah,
miserable she hated the other version of herself so much. It was a murder attempt, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well,
Um
yeah, and she said, like, I want her to wake up, like, with the life
knowing that
draining
I
out of her,
fucking
knowing
killed
that it was
her.
me.
Yeah.
Like, "Yeah, let's go."
Um, and it really made me curious. I'm really fascinated by, and I hope that the show kind of goes into this a little bit because it seems to be kind of an existential show where it's like, uh, people wondering about their purpose and finding out what they care about and what motivates them to care about things like that. Like, they basically are newborns with a lifetime of experience, right?
Yeah, I was wondering, like, how much, because I know, like, obviously they didn't have their memories, but they had, like, likes and dislikes,
Yeah.
and I was wondering, like, how much of that is, like, the actual person, or is that something that they developed, at work? like how
Yeah.
Irving like loved music, but then we saw when he was his outie like listens to music and he paints and all the black goo. So that made sense. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah, I was
really
wondering. Yeah,
well the way that Helly sees the other version of herself as a completely different person, I wonder if that like keeps going to where they want to try to find a way to extract themselves from their original
that's. I was wondering like what the end game is going to be like. Are they going to
or
completely take
maintain
over the other
control.
person?
Yes.
Because I love the any mark, but I don't want to lose the outie mark.
Right.
It would be interesting if they were all jerks and like
Mm.
worthless people who are like, murderers. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, that's fine, like erase them completely. But since we did see so much, I think that's what the show wants. It doesn't want you to necessarily pick a side
Yeah.
because Mark, obviously the Audi Mark was down to totally
Devastated.
find out what's going
Mhm.
on the inside and, wanting to quit and all that stuff. But um yeah, and it's one theme I notice is like the show's about loss.
Mhm.
Physically loss, like, physically I mean severance,
Right.
but that's another
Yeah.
word, for loss, but everybody had, lost something.
Yeah.
Um or at some point in the show had, lost something, like if you want to like Dylan and his son and possibly other children. Um I mean, essentially, that's he's losing that, and all the stuff with Irving, and like, oh,
Yeah.
it was really good.
D-
Everything was really good. I enjoyed all the characters.
did you watch the intro to the show or did you
I re-
always skip it?
I remembered you saying to skip it,
Okay.
so I did until the last episode,
And then you watched it?
and then I was like, I'm probably safe to watch this now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I accidentally watched it like 4 or 5 episodes in, and I was like, "What the fuck is this black goo?" Like before the black goo happened, the
mm.
intro shows it, and you're
Oh
like,
yeah, that would
"What
be.
is this?" And then later I was like, "Oh," because then John Turturro starts to see it, and
Yeah,
what I love about like that the black goo phenomenon is it's a lot of things. Yes, he's an artist, but it also could be like it could be actual a side effect of Severance that we don't know about, where they see like their world closing in. I mean, I don't even care what the numbers things is. It would be fun if they answered it, but I genuinely don't care because I've already accepted the scenario. I'm not worried about that minutia. I'm worried about the characters now. Like
yeah,
I want to see, and again, it's like it's a sci-fi drama, so we're not going to get what we want. But I would love happy endings for both versions of everybody in there, the good and the bad.
hmm,
But it's a sign of like a really good, gripping dramatic story. It's like, to be invested in that way. It's just I can tell like the pain is going to come whether it's season 2 or when they announce the final season. Somebody's going to live, somebody's going to die, somebody's going to get what they want, somebody's not, and it's probably going to be pretty compelling no matter what. Um, is there anything else I want to ask you about Severance? Um, I don't think so. Well, so about the finale, how satisfying was it to find out who they were on the outside, like, and have it end on him? Like, what did you think of the finale? Were you satisfied by it?
yeah. I was. I mean, I saw the ending coming.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was pretty predictable for me. I liked that it kept going. Like, it would be, Helly, then we'd see Mark, then we'd see Irving, then it'd go back to Dylan. I liked that it was like doing that
There
because
was, yeah,
it wasn't. I wasn't like, okay, I'm bored with this person. Okay, let's get back to this person. There was something interesting in each of them. So like every time it was like I was getting more and more pumped up as we were learning more and more.
yeah,
Um, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, like I said, I knew the ending was coming, but I still was like, "Uh,
yeah. Was there anything you
no."
didn't like about it? What did you think of Patricia Arquette's character?
Okay. I like her. I think she's a good actress. I don't I didn't like the way that she spoke.
It's strange, isn't it?
I didn't like the and I guess she was doing a voice as Mrs. Selvig, but like the mock. I didn't like that at
Yeah.
all. That
I
ran through me every time she said it.
I do think it's genuinely fascinating to have a character that exists in both worlds and can manipulate in that way. How do
Mhm.
you it is, and again, there's always a suspension of disbelief, but like to give that power and that knowledge to somebody just and then just fire her, like
Yeah,
that
I
makes
was
that didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, this is all like it's on paper mache. It's like ready to break at any moment because of the murmurs in the community and the accidents that are happening on the job, and the departments are starting to converge on each other. And I loved all the mystery of like this old time war that happened between these these two
yeah, I
departments.
was yeah, that was and then there's two different paintings
Yeah. It's like
and
they
I'm
were
like,
each fed. It's like the village. They were each fed. They were like fed lies to keep them from their own
yeah.
curiosity. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just yeah, I know you said like the numbers thing like doesn't bother. I'm still bothered by it. I still want to know is it the baby goats?
Is it the baby goats? I
Is
also
it are they
love.
killing people? That's how I was assuming.
Well, and there's like big like kind of like religious overtones where how they worship this founder,
Yeah.
and how they again they're fed information that only they need to know, and almost kind of proselytized and brainwashed to feel this certain way about this founder. I thought,
Yeah, like the security guy, he's sitting with Kier now. We're Kier's children
yeah, and it's like,
in this
how
shrine
do you
and
get there? How do you get there from like when you were an outside person? You know what I mean? Like isn't there some form of you who's like, okay, well, even when I worked my normal job, I didn't worship my fucking manager. Like, what is
right.
this? Like this is
Yeah.
something different. Anyway, I'm genuinely glad that you watched it. You just have to watch Coda next.
Oh, I did today.
You did?
Oh,
Okay.
I was on a roll.
All right. Well, you want to talk about that really quick?
Sure.
Okay. What'd you think of Coda?
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't cry, but I liked
I
it.
thought I was heartless.
I know.
Um. Well, and again, and I said this in a spoiler-free section. Um.
Oh, sorry if I'm spoiling
No,
anything,
you're
by the
fine.
way.
I'll give a spoiler warning for it. Um, well, I mean, we don't need to get into the details, but
Right.
I was saying in a spoiler free section, maybe it was for the Green Knight, where I was like, uh, even spoiler free opinions color your expectations for a piece of entertainment, right?
Yeah.
So probably hearing me and Tris and anybody else, and it won Best Picture. Your expectations are different now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
right? So I just like I watched it on a whim with no expectations, knowing nothing about it. I just knew it was nominated for Academy Awards. I guess maybe I knew it was nominated for Best Picture. So even that I wish I didn't know because there came some sort of like prestige or expectation with that. Um, but yeah, that probably contributed. You're like, yeah, you were expecting to be sad, so maybe that's why it didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah,
you
because I was like, oh, somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, and nobody does. Or
Right.
like when you expect to laugh in a comedy, so then you don't end up laughing as much because it's like I thought this was going to be a laugh a minute. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, I just was really impressed. I loved the double meaning of Coda. It's probably cheesy and again, I watched the trailer after I saw the movie. I was like, oh my god, I totally understand why some people hated this movie because the entire movie's in the trailer. When you go to because they set up everything the dynamic of the family, the hearing and the non-hearing challenges, the fishing boat suspension license, like every major thing that had a genuine impact on me emotionally because I didn't know what was going to happen. They like gave away in the trailer, like even them sitting on the back of the truck, which I think is like the most like
Wow.
heart wrenching scene in the whole movie. I think
Yeah.
I think they even in the trailer they even show the scene where she's singing and the auditorium goes silent. I'm like every big fucking moment.
Oh, that was so good. I was
Yeah.
like, I loved that. I loved that they did that. That was so perfect.
And what I like about CODA and kind of Sound of Metal as well is they both deal with hearing loss. They both feature hearing loss, but they're about different things and different characters. Like, it just shows you, like, just because you include a hearing impaired character doesn't mean you have to tell only one story. There's lots of different kinds of stories you can tell from a variety of perspectives and people, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to talk about Overwatch. I should just talk. I should just have a gaming podcast if I want to do that. Overwatch is awesome. That's all I'll say.
And you got into the Overwatch 2 beta.
I got into the
woo!
beta. So yeah, I won't shamelessly promote here, but
even though you trash talk and get in trouble, they still let you.
Yeah, I got in trouble in Overwatch. I haven't even told you guys yet.
Oh no. Oh, no. I'm not surprised.
Anyway, yeah. Anything else that you were watching that you wanted to shout out or talk about?
I'll wait till I started another show.
You want to get
tonight.
further?
Well, the fourth season of a show I've already seen, but I'll wait till I get a little bit more into that.
All right. Well, having said that, let's talk about the unbearable weight of massive talent. Did you know that if you support me on patreon.com/superjersh, you can get this podcast early and ad-free? You probably didn't know that because you're listening to this promotion right now. Which means you also probably didn't know that there are dozens of hours of Patreon exclusive content over there, like full album music reactions and full movie watch-along commentaries. So head on over to patreon.com/superjersh to help the music and movie discussions continue. And for you gamers out there, don't forget to check out my gaming-focused YouTube channel, youtube.com/jershplays. Recently, I've been focusing on Guild Wars 2, Overwatch, and Fortnite, but there are also dozens of hours of gameplay videos for single-player games like Detroit Become Human and the Resident Evil series. Subscribe to that channel ASAP. It's free and helps a lot. Speaking of free, if Patreon isn't your thing, make sure you are liking the posts, commenting, sharing, rating, and reviewing, and subscribing everywhere that you can if you enjoy anything that I produce, music, movie, or gaming related. The only way it can continue is with your help. If this is all too much to remember and you want to see the different types of content I'm producing all in one place, just visit my website, superjersh.com. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent stars Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, which I don't think I've seen him in one other movie ever. I know he's blowing up right now, but I've only ever seen him in one other thing, so I wasn't really familiar with him. And but I'll talk about that later. I want to do spoiler-free thoughts because it's a brand new opening this week movie. So we will have a quick spoiler-free section for just overall thoughts, and then we will go ahead and talk spoilers after that. So let me ask you first. I know I did not watch the trailer. The only thing that I knew about this movie was that Nicolas Cage apparently played himself. That's literally all I knew. I'd never seen a still. I never looked up the phrase. I'd never had it advertised towards me like a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? Like, I just knew, oh, there's a movie coming out where Nicolas Cage plays himself. That was my only knowledge of the movie. So I want to ask you, like, what was your knowledge state going in, and what were your spoiler-free overall thoughts?
Okay, no pressure's on to not spoil. I did see the trailer in a movie theater. I know I'm completely out of the podcast. But,
a blasphemer!
But I didn't really remember much of it. And I was kind of looking away.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to save myself a little bit, but I knew that, Nicolas Cage was playing himself and that Pedro Pascal was in it. And that he was, that they were together.
Right, that they appeared to be like kind of co-leads or the driving force of the movie, is what the trailer tells you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you, are you a Nicolas Cage fan? What is your familiarity with his filmography? Are there big time movies in his canon that are like, what is it? Points on your film nerd card that, like you haven't seen Face Off or you haven't seen Con Air? Like, is there any some of his big time movies, just in general, whether they're brought up in this movie, that you aren't familiar with.
Well, I thought about like watching a bunch of his movies beforehand in order to
Mm-hmm.
like prepare myself. But actually, and it's funny. I guess it's probably because this was coming out. Like probably about a week ago, there was like a BuzzFeed thing that was like, "How big of a Nicolas Cage fan are you?" And it's like, check off all the movies that you've seen, and apparently I'm not.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, I haven't seen Face Off. I haven't seen Con Air. Um, I've seen the National Treasure movies. I've seen Raising Arizona,
That
so
was my next question. I was gonna die.
I saw that once, probably
Oh,
like
only one fucking time though.
yeah, probably like 10 years ago maybe. Um,
I think I've seen that movie over 100 times. I'm not
wow.
exaggerating.
Wow.
That's a lifelong movie for me.
Yeah, I should probably see it again. Like I said, it's been
It
like
is
about 10 years.
every 5 minutes quotable. Absolutely rewatch it. It's also a movie that, like, I saw it really young, too young to even really appreciate it because it just was on TV, I feel, or maybe we owned it. I don't remember. But especially after film school, I like rewatched it again. Everyone talks about Coen Brothers. You got to watch Fargo. Got to watch Blood Simple, Miller's Crossing, whatever. And Raising Arizona was on that list too. And I rewatched it a little bit older, and I was like, oh my god, I fucking love this movie. Like everything about it is hilarious to me. Anyway, so yeah, I definitely have an attachment to that movie, and I also believe it's Edgar Wright's favorite movie of all time. I think. Do you know who Edgar Wright is?
Hmm. I know the name.
He directed Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz
Okay. Okay.
and Last Night in Soho and Scott Pilgrim versus the World,
Oh, okay.
Baby
Okay.
Driver. That's Edgar Wright. Yeah. Anyway, so you're not overly familiar with his filmography.
I mean, like I am a fan. I think he's crazy sometimes. But I mean, I think that's a given. But yeah, I haven't seen some of like the older, like the classics that he's probably more known for that like my parents are more familiar with him
So you
for.
haven't seen Vampire's Kiss, you haven't seen Peggy Sue Got Married, you haven't seen Moonstruck, things like that.
Correct.
That's okay. Those are I even haven't seen all of those. I'm just familiar with
Okay.
them. But okay. So what did you think of this movie?
I really liked it. I was pleasantly surprised. I liked it a lot better than I thought that I would. I thought it was just going to be like insane stupid, which maybe it was a little stupid, but I think it was a good stupid. I had a lot of I saw it with my parents and we laughed throughout and um surprised them. Uh yeah, I really enjoyed it. Um and I'll expand on that a little bit more in
And
the
spoilers.
spoiler
Okay.
section.
So
But
you
yeah, I
enjoyed
have some
it. You enjoyed it.
mhm.
Uh yeah, I absolutely loved it. I loved the movie. There I there were parts that right around like the 30 to 40 minute mark where I was like, okay, where's this going though? Like now that I understand what the setup is, because again, I was completely cold.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just knew it was Nicolas Cage playing a version of himself, and I won't expand on that here. Um, I will say the pretty much everything in the movie worked for me. The big time Nicolas Cage references, the small time Nicolas Cage one off references. Um, I think even without the Nicolas Cage filmography references, I love this script. I loved how the characters were written. I loved how the relationships evolved, in particular with the Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal characters. I I was all in. Like by the end of the movie, I was completely all in on those characters, and I want to see those characters do anything. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I was completely caught off guard by how good. Like the first scene with them, I was worried. I was like, I don't. This is completely slowed down. I don't see where this is going. What are we doing here? And then as it evolves and progresses and the plot reveals itself, and I just gave kudos to Severance for like this character plot stuff, I think this movie pulls it off really well. I think you've got individuals with clear desires and goals and wants and personalities, and there's this mix up this situation occurs that gives you a reason to make a movie, and it kind of intertwines, and their motivations and the things that they're trying to achieve get mixed up in a a movie comedy, action comedy type way that was, I think, really rewarding as a moviegoer and as a fan of Nicolas Cage. But just in general, I liked the format of the movie. Yeah, I thought, yeah, I'll save it for spoilers. There was one thing that was kind of a bummer that reminded me of another movie, but I understood why they went there in this movie because it was totally applicable for the premise. Yeah. I actually thought the cinematography was pretty good in the movie. There are moments where it's just kind of being the movie it wants to be, and then there are times when it chooses to be extra dramatic for specific reasons, where you get maybe like an extreme close-up or a specialty whip pan or something special with the camera that is purposely done, that those movements and moments always landed for me. I always got a kick out of those. The music, I think, is probably the weakest part. It was pretty forgettable. I couldn't tell you what the score was,
Yeah, I was trying, because I was like, okay, I need something to... I was like, he's probably gonna ask me about what I think about the music. So I was like, let me focus on the music. And yeah, I was trying to get like a grasp, because there was some piano stuff that was in more of the beginning, where it was like a little slow. But then yeah, it went to where I don't even remember what it did in the second half of it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, okay, let me see if there's like, is there a correlation to the plot or anything with the music? And I didn't.
Yeah. And there's one music trick very early on in the movie that really made me happy, and I thought music was going to play a bigger role in the movie as a result of it. And so maybe that's why I'm also was disappointed by the music, because you have Nicolas Cage, you have this filmography, you have him playing himself. That's all public knowledge without spoiling anything. You're going to have opportunities to maybe utilize music from movies he's been in. And I thought that was like maybe a little bit of a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, there was
yeah, don't
I'll save it. There was
Yeah, we'll talk about it in spoilers. Anyway, we will go to spoilers really quickly here, probably just to praise the movie some more. There's not a lot to dislike. The character stuff is good. The script is very smart and funny. There is action in the movie that is, I think it's purposefully exactly the type of action it wants to be, is what I will say. I think it is exactly the type of action that this movie kind of called for, and I wasn't disappointed or pulled out of the few action scenes that we got in the movie at all. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk spoilers. Did you know that if you support me on patreon.com/superjersh, you can get this podcast early and ad-free? You probably didn't know that because you're listening to this promotion right now. Which means you also probably didn't know that there are dozens of hours of Patreon exclusive content over there, like full album music reactions and full movie watch-along commentaries. So head on over to patreon.com/superjersh to help the music and movie discussions continue. And for you gamers out there, don't forget to check out my gaming-focused YouTube channel, youtube.com/jershplays. Recently, I've been focusing on Guild Wars 2, Overwatch, and Fortnite, but there are also dozens of hours of gameplay videos for single-player games like Detroit Become Human and the Resident Evil series. Subscribe to that channel ASAP. It's free and helps a lot. Speaking of free, if Patreon isn't your thing, make sure you are liking the posts, commenting, sharing, rating, and reviewing, and subscribing everywhere that you can, if you enjoy anything that I produce, music, movie, or gaming related. The only way it can continue is with your help. If this is all too much to remember and you want to see the different types of content I'm producing all in one place, just visit my website, superjersh.com. Okay, full spoiler warning for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And I have to keep looking at the title on my monitor because I genuinely didn't even know I didn't know what the movie was called. I had to like
Mm.
Google Nicolas Cage movie. Oh, Massive Talent. Oh, okay. So I just had a short term. I watched it this morning. So I saw it
Really?
today. Yeah. And so it's still pretty fresh in my mind. But I don't have the name memorized because I didn't watch the trailers for months or look, like I literally had to like look it up. So anyway, it's quite it's quite a title. So
Yeah.
full spoiler warning for the movie. If you haven't seen it, we both recommend seeing it, and it is a brand new movie, so definitely recommend watching it before you listen to this portion if you care about spoilers. So what I was talking about to leap off of the final thought that we had, the music was the opening scene with Con Air on the television,
Mhm.
and that Leanne Rimes song is like you've never seen Con Air, which is
Right.
again your loss, but that Leanne Rimes song is actually in Con Air, like that's an actual scene from the movie. I won't tell you when and where because you need to watch Con Air because it's pretty
Right.
fucking insane. But when the when the music basically jumped out of Con Air and became the music playing during the opening abduction kidnapping scene, I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. Is Nicolas Cage gonna be caught in like scenarios from is he gonna find out in real life that he's in scenarios that he has portrayed as in his acting career? Like
You
is
know,
you know what I mean?
that's what. So I had heard a little bit about it too, and I thought that I read that he was going to have to. Okay, well, because the way that they, wherever I saw this, I can't remember, but how they phrased it was like he needs to use his like the skills that he's learned from all the movies he's done to be able to like carry this mission out. So I was like, oh, well, he's going to be like doing stuff. There's going to be like direct like National Treasure references where like,
Right.
oh, like he's going to have to steal something like he
Yeah.
stole it. Like that's what
Yeah.
I was expecting. So it was a little, and of course, I'm only disappointed because that's how I interpreted
Right.
what I read. But I thought that would have been really cool to do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I was, and that's kind of like how it started, or that's well, even the movie insinuates that is a potential for the movie because they open with Con Air and then they use the music from Con Air. Anyway, um, I got to talk about one of my favorite things in the whole movie is young Nicolas Cage, is CGI
Good old
aged
Nicky.
down Nicolas Cage with floaty hair from Vampire's Kiss. Even if you've never seen that movie, have you at least seen like the highlights from Vampire's Kiss?
No.
Okay, you don't. The movie is whatever. I think I own the
Mhm.
movie. I think I got it. Like I saw a scene from the movie online and I bought the movie instantly because I was like, "What the fuck
Okay.
is this movie?" The movie didn't end up being that great, but you can watch highlight compilations on YouTube of like the best scenes from that movie. Absolutely a must watch. That
Okay.
movie is batshit fucking insane. He plays a character who thinks he's turning into a vampire. Like that's the movie,
Okay.
and he looks exactly like young Nick Cage looked in this movie. That's what he looked like in real life at the time, like at that age.
Okay.
And those interactions, all of them, the normal talk when he fucking kisses himself, and when he screams, "I'm Nicholas fucking," that I was crying laughing. I was so happy I couldn't believe it. Um, but yeah, so what are some of the spoiler thoughts that you want to get to, either as like high points or surprises, or maybe the references you got?
Okay. Um, let's see. I I think that Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal make a great team.
Yes.
Some of the best chemistry that I've seen in a while. They are perfect together. Um, we were my parents and I were all like, we need to see them in more things together.
Yes.
They were just so good together. It was so good. And yeah, it just yeah. So you said that this was like the first thing you saw Pedro Pascal in, or like another?
Literally the only other thing I've ever seen him in is this not very good children's movie that was like a big Netflix hit a year ago. It's about like superhero school.
Oh, the Robert Rodriguez, right?
Yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah, I
I
never saw that, but it looked horrible, so
listen,
I didn't
listen.
see it.
I love Robert Rodriguez. He's an inspiration to me as somebody who's been slumming it, making my own bullshit movies with no money for a decade, right? Like
Right.
him, he's an inspiration as an independent filmmaker. He hasn't been. He's still technically independent, but he's very financially successful, so he can do a lot in his independence. But I'm saying like his young career, his early days, going out and making a movie with. He shot his first movie for $7,000, like, which is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. And he submitted it to festivals and got a start and has never looked back. He's an inspiration to me. He has made some of my favorite movies. I love From Dusk Till Dawn. That's like a childhood favorite of mine. I rewatch it every so often. But and the first Sin City is great too. But his kids stuff, obviously, I'm not the audience for. But even
Mhm.
trying to watch it with my son, I'm like, this is not. I
You're
don't
not a
know.
Spy Kids fan?
No, I've never seen them.
You've never
Um,
seen Spy Kids? Okay.
no, I don't. I know that.
I have.
I know at some point the Twilight Kid was involved with one of those movies too. I think he plays like a Shark Kid, or maybe that's not him.
Oh, Taylor Lautner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Okay.
Who she was in the We Could Be Heroes or
Is that
whatever
the
that
name of
was
it?
called. I think it's We Can Be Heroes or something like
Anyway,
that.
I saw Pedro Pascal in that, and I was like, I did not. I was like, I don't like this character. I don't really like this acting. And then like right after I saw that, I saw his name blowing up everywhere, and I'm like, really? Like this superhero dad? Like I don't think that was a particularly great movie or great performance. But
You haven't
apparently he
seen,
already had some steam from other movies.
yeah, I've seen him in some other stuff. You haven't seen Wonder Woman 1984?
No, I didn't watch it because I heard it was not any good, so I didn't watch it.
Fair enough. And then he's obviously the Mandalorian.
Haven't watched it. He's the Mandalorian?
Oh, spoilers. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but that's yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I
so
don't. I,
it's yeah, I learned that he's a very versatile actor because I've never seen him in a role like this. So I was kind of surprised.
I loved like yeah, I loved everything that he did and everything that they did together. It starts off
Hmm.
again like ominous, like it's like you're going to visit some sort of a drug lord on an island, and I don't know what this is, but then it turns out he's a big film buff, and that they bond over old movies, and they
Hmm.
totally have this bromance, and then it turns out
Oh, this,
he might be a kidnapper or a genocidal serial killer, this vicious leader, and oh my god, I loved, and again, I'm a big fan of this script. This is a script that I would want to read because it was such a great example of really good setup and payoffs from like the opening monologue of the Boston gangster and how he spouts off that dialogue at the end when he's about
yeah.
to get shot was hilarious. The Paddington 2 shit through the movie, the
Yeah.
running gag,
Yeah.
all that was
Yeah.
really really funny to me, and I've never seen Paddington 2. I've never seen either of the
Mm,
Paddington movies, but
either.
every Paddington 2 was like the highest rated movie of all time for a really long time.
Yeah, I don't.
I guess I have to
And
watch the Paddington movies now, but
yeah, apparently.
uh
Yeah, next week's episode.
yeah.
Um, and apparently, I think I read that the script won something like back in 2019 for like one
It,
of the best unproduced scripts
yeah,
or
it was
something.
on the quote unquote blacklist, which is
The
like
blacklist. Yeah,
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 like
yeah.
the scripts floating around that is like everybody loves but it hasn't gotten financing or whatever. I read a little bit of trivia about it too. Apparently he passed on the project for a long time. He's been offered it for a long time, multiple years, but he didn't want to play himself. He was unsure how that would come across, and
Yeah.
eventually he agreed because the director wrote him, this note, and he finally read the script and liked the script. And um, apparently, also in the trivia, he originally wanted to play Pedro Pascal's part. He wanted to
Yeah.
play the fan of himself, which could have also been interesting.
Yeah, he was like, that would be way more meta than
Yeah,
me playing myself. Yeah, and even if it was like some other random actor playing Nicolas Cage, would have still, I think, been awesome.
yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, their relationship at the core and the setups and payoffs of this
Excellent.
movie were awesome. What I said was a little bit of a disappointment that
Mm.
I was reminded of another movie, which we can't help it because, other movies exist and it reminds you of it, it reminds you of it, was Team America World Police. Which is, I mean, it's an old
I
movie
love that
now.
movie.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to say it, but it's an old movie now. It came
Yeah.
out, what, 18 years ago? It came out 18 years ago. And literally beat for beat in Team America World Police, they hire an actor to go undercover and use his acting abilities
I did think about that
and put him in makeup so that he can
when
go undercover. Quick, Gary, act your way past those guards. That's what's running through my head during the whole third act. Was like, yeah, quick, Nick, act your way past those guards. And
I,
the
s- I like that though.
Yeah,
Go
like
for
it,
it.
and like I said, like it fits the premise. I also
Yeah.
think it's a successful meta movie, similar to the new Scream movie. Like I thought
Mm.
the self references, the self referential nature of the movie itself, it didn't pander or seem out of place. Everything worked. Um, at the very end of the movie when the family's all together and it cuts to the movie and Demi Moore played his wife and they're at home
Hmm.
celebrating and relaxing. Again, it's fictional Nick Cage, which he even said like um he's not really playing himself. Like in real life he has two sons, he doesn't even have a daughter, and in real life he has turned down multiple movie projects to have extra family time. He has an amazing relationship with his children. Like
Hmm.
I heard that he turned down parts in Lord of the Rings and The Matrix to like spend family time instead. Like
Hmm.
think about that, right? So um
And I read that like he's Nick Cage with a K on the end
yeah, I saw that in
in
the
the movie.
poster when yeah, cuz it's a fictional
So
version of himself.
he's playing a different version, which of course I don't think we saw that in the movie. His name like written down anywhere to where we would
No,
even know
everyone
that.
just called him Nick. Yeah, but it's on the poster though, because I saw like getting show notes together for this episode. I saw Nick Cage with a CK.
Oh,
But
okay.
I would have assumed just a C. Did you
Yeah.
know? Did you have you know Francis Ford Coppola, The Godfather, Dracula, whatever?
Yes.
Did you know that Nicolas Cage is his nephew?
Yes.
Okay,
And
just
I know that this version of him is not part of the Coppola family apparently
okay. I didn't know that.
in the movie. I read that in
Well,
IMDb.
one of the very last references in the movie is not the bees. The bees are in my eyes. Do you have any idea what he's talking about when he
That's
says that?
isn't that Wicker Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I leaned over to my dad and I was like, "That's Wicker Man,"
But
because I was like,
so your dad had seen Face Off and Con Air
"Oh
and
yeah, yeah, they've seen all that." Yeah.
The Rock.
Hmm.
Have you seen The Rock?
I have not.
Hmm.
I know. I promise. I majored in film. I have a degree. I can show you.
When I like seeing the golden guns from Face Off and just knowing the second I saw them, I'm like, he's using those at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And you're still glad when it happens. That's how good the movie is. It's like even when you can see something coming, you're excited for it. Like I can't wait till Nicolas Cage gets to hold those fucking guns again. It's gonna be awesome. And they know it's gonna be awesome. It's perfect. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's so cool. It would have been even better if he put on a goddamn tux. Just like the
Yeah.
freaking statue. Um God, yeah, this movie was great. The slightly self-deprecating humor, but the reverence for his varied career, the different types of roles that he's played. He's been nominated for an Oscar, which again, like when Pedro Pascal jumps into the pool to get him out because he's drinking booze. That's like almost like a shot for shot scene from Leaving Las Vegas, which he was nominated for an Academy Award for.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
there's all kinds of stuff in the movie that I feel like I've said this before, but I'll say it again because it is applicable here. Like references and winks and nods to the audience should be frosting on the cake, not the cake. You have to have a good cake first. And the movie does stand on its own about an aging Hollywood actor reckoning with his filmography and the ego of his youth and trying to become a better father and all these character beats and progression through the story, right? this budding, bromance with Pedro, and like learning to helping each other. Like he gives Pedro's character the courage to stand up to his cousin who ended up being the real secret villain, and his movies help motivate him and change his life. And I feel like, slight spoilers for the new Scream meta remake, because I'm going to talk about the meta, but in a way that I felt the new Scream movie was like a takedown and like a referendum on toxic fandom. I felt like this movie was a celebration of like healthy, genuine love fandom, where it's like, you don't get it, man. I love movies. I love your movies. I love action movies. They make me feel good. They bring my family together. Your movies are awesome and they fucking matter. You know what I mean? And it's like, that is just like such a really great, positive, inspired fandom that I can get behind, versus a lot of the toxicity, gatekeeping, arguing that kind of happens in a lot of film circles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, and I really liked the part where they were like talking about like what are your favorite movies, and just like that whole
Just the
um
conversation.
it was good. It didn't feel like it like went on too long. It was like supporting the plot. It was necessary, I thought, to develop their bond, their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
You get to learn more about them. Um, yeah.
Yeah. This movie was so good. So good.
I was so surprised at how good it was, because I was going into it, I was like, I mean, it's probably just gonna be like pure spectacle, and
Yeah.
like just because I was like, I feel like I have to see this just be like for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so surprised when I came out of the theater. I was like, I really, really, really liked it.
And when the pieces really start to fall together towards the middle of the movie, and they have that LSD drug trip, and
Oh my gosh,
wasn't
that
that
was so
so funny?
funny.
And it was hilarious when Nicolas Cage puts that chemical agent on his hand and he immediately
Yes.
accidentally swipes. Like, I honestly was hoping for more of that. More, a
Yeah.
little bit more hijinks. It kind of reminded me of Mission Impossible 4. I don't know how familiar you are with the
Oh,
Mission
I've
Impossible.
I've
Okay.
seen them all. I
Well,
love them
so
all.
what I love about Ghost Protocol is like that's the Mission Impossible where everything fails. Like all the gear stops working, they lose their mask ability, like everything that can be thrown against the team happens in Ghost Protocol. It's probably one of the best Mission Impossible movies, right?
I I think so. Yeah, that and this last one.
Yeah, Fallout was amazing. But there was just something hilarious about I'm super serious and super secret mode, and shit just went haywire. It's funny, it's tense, it's everything. Like I thought that was gonna be the start of a bunch of mishaps that happen when you try to use a Hollywood actor to be your CIA agent, but that's not what the movie was about. Like it just
No,
wasn't.
but I could have done with a couple more.
If they make
You know.
a Could you imagine a sequel where they contact Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal again to go undercover because nobody would suspect that Nicolas Cage is undercover, and we get that movie, we get the hijinks. I don't know. You probably can't. Honestly,
Let's start a petition.
I know. But in a world where Marvel never ends and Star Wars never ends and TV series never ends, I just loved this start to finish story. And like the reason that their relationship feels so fulfilled and rewarding by the end is because uh, that's where the story was heading towards. Like it earned it. If you want to see their relationship, you can rewatch the movie. It's
Right.
probably a very rewatchable movie for the references, the individual laugh out loud moments, all the film talk in the movie, and like, and again, like I really feel like the heist CIA kidnap plot is really kind of expertly paced throughout the movie, where it doesn't bog things down, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it really intertwines. Like a movie that I talk about on stream all the time is The Other Guys, the Will Ferrell movie, which is my personal favorite Will Ferrell movie of all time. I think it's the best movie him and Adam McKay ever made together. Um, but that movie suffers from too much of the serious plot intruding on the comedy, because it does try to tell a real crime story in between all the laughs. And this movie didn't do that. It told you exactly what you needed to know. It was kind of light on it, and like even everything. I pretty much loved everything about it. When the victim, or when the kidnapped girl gets into the van and she's like, Nicolas Cage? fucking sweet. I was just like, yes. It's awesome. Anyway, not much else to say. Not much bad to say about this movie. Definitely recommend watching it to help. It's not a Marvel. It's not a Star Wars. It's Nicolas Cage. Even if you go on a $5 Tuesday, mask up, socially distance, be vaccinated, and go see this movie. Like, it was a ton of fun. I'm super glad that I went and saw it.
Yeah, me too. And something I noticed which kind of made me sad, but I guess it's not a blockbuster. I don't think it's meant to be. Is at my theater there weren't that many showings. There was maybe like 4 on
Yeah,
a Saturday.
yeah.
Um,
I think even if people don't get to it in theaters, I think it will have a very successful life on streaming. It is going to be a very fun, relax at home and go down memory lane with Nicolas Cage movie. Um, I mean, I was really impressed by the script, and I was really impressed by Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if one or two like awards talk starts happening at the end of the year. Like, if there's again a movie that's released this early in the year before award season, they movies like that tend to get lost in the weeds by the time a bunch of other contenders come out. But I really feel like, again, like from the politics of award seasons, like bringing Nicolas Cage back for a role that is justified when everybody this just year said that he was snubbed for his performance in Pig. Did you watch Pig?
no, I didn't.
I
But
watched it a few weeks ago. I didn't talk about it on the podcast, but
okay.
it's a really good movie too, and he's good in it. But everybody just recently started talking about how he was snubbed for Mandy, he was snubbed for Pig, and I just really feel like, I don't know, it might be his time to get a little bit of a reward here. So
Yeah, I think so.
anyway, that's all we have to say about Stares at Title, the unbearable weight of massive talent. That is going to do it for this episode of No Trailers Allowed. Thank you, Mirrors, once again for volunteering your time. I had a lot of fun chatting about the movie with you. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want to find more episodes, you can visit my website, superjersh.com. If you want to support me and get this podcast early and ad-free, you can visit me on patreon.com/superjersh to watch the video version of this podcast and see Mirrors and I talk to each other on quasi-video call. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/superjersh. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter and Instagram @superjersh. If you want to email me to be a part of the show with your questions, comments, or suggestions about anything movie or streaming show related, the email address is notrailersallowed@gmail.com. I also am on Spotify and iTunes. If you listen to podcasts there, please give it a rating, give it a review, help the podcast to find an audience. The internet is a very crowded place. As always, thank you for watching or listening. Until next time.